to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. Today, I'm happy to welcome Beth Diana Smith back on the show. Beth was here originally episode 439, and in that episode, she shared a lot of the lessons that she took from her background in corporate finance into her interior design firm. We talked about contracts, boundaries, about the unrealistic expectations and unrealistic budgets that clients have. And we also talked about another important topic about sexual harassment and how it showed up in her business and how she handled it. So it was a great conversation. I highly encourage you to go back and listen to it, episode 439. And since that conversation, Beth has grown and changed her business in a lot of ways, which she talks about today on the show, from revising and refining her processes to how it has improved her business in all the ways. Today, we also, Beth and I, take a moment to discuss inclusivity and diversity in our industry. And we talk about what we can do as white colleagues to not be complicit in racism when it shows up. I have been reading books and articles and listening to podcasts and talking with trusted colleagues like Beth about racism and white privilege. It is abundantly clear that this is a complicated journey. This is a journey that I am personally choosing to go on. You may or may not go on it, your call. But what I know is if you are white, and you are interested in being an advocate for inclusivity in the design industry, then I'm finding that it starts with both confronting and unlearning our own implicit bias. This takes work. It takes a willingness to be vulnerable, and it means re-examining everything you thought you knew. If it matters to you, and I hope it does, be open to having the hard conversations with yourself and your friends, okay? Now, one more thing before we start the show is I am delighted to say that Beth is a panelist at LuAnn Live. It's about the conversation. That's right. I have chosen to pair Beth with co-author Sandra Funk for the panel. The reason for this pairing will be very clear to you as you hear Beth talking today. She shares a similar journey with Sandra in that, to some extent, just like Sandra, she came to a moment where she drew a line in the sand and she said to herself, I am committed to improving my business by intentionally addressing all aspects and by systemizing my processes. Okay. So when Beth said this to me, I was saying to myself, this is just the moment that Sandra had. So this thoughtful, determined, no wiggle out approach is key in finally getting your business set up for success and for scaling if that's your desire. So it is my hope that with her advice today and in the conversation with Sandra Funk at LuAnn Live, that you will be inspired and motivated to emulate the steps that Beth has taken so that you can duplicate her success. All right. So please join us at February 2nd, 3rd, and 4th at LuAnn Live. Go to luannlive.com to sign up. All right. Now let's hear what Beth has to say about the changes in her business since we last spoke to her on the show. Hi, Beth. Thanks for coming back to A Well-Designed Business today.
Thank you, LuAnn, for having me. It's nice to be back.
It is. It's nice to have you back, Beth. We were just chatting about how it's been about a year and a half, not quite a year and a half, and it feels like about 20 years, right, since you were on the show.
I was very convinced it was 2017 or 2018.
Oh, well, 2020 has been enough year for all of us combined, then some, right?
Right, exactly.
Oh God, it's like dog years, right?
Literally like dog years.
It is. It is. Well, and of course, a lot of it has been surrounding COVID-19, and of course, Black Lives Matter, and all of the horrific things that have happened there. And of course, let's not forget all about all the politics and all the joy that that part has brought to our lives the last several months. But
Right.
also, too. You've really grown and changed your business a lot over this, and it's only been a year and a few months, but you really have grown and changed your business over a lot. You were like, whoa, I've changed a lot of things since then.
I have. Things have been great, and I feel like every business owner it should always be striving for that growth, to be better, to have a better year than they did last year. So I've been really honing in on my design skills and my business acumen to help my business grow and to be what I want it to be in the long term.
Mm. Well, I know that you came to it with a very well-formed business acumen. I mean, everyone, you have to listen to the first episode with Beth. We'll put the episode number in the show notes, but you came to your interior design after 10 years in corporate finance with an MBA, and that was a lot of what we talked about. How we always talk about our Eric Award transferable skills. How you take the skills that you have from anything, whether it's a previous career or just a different anything in your background in your past, and try and put them to work for you and to the benefit of yourself, your business, your client, when going forward. But so for you, that was really so clear to me, such a good foundation. But you're saying now that you really feel like you've even improved on that, and also you are mentioning to me that you feel like your design aesthetic has even reached newer heights. Tell us about both of these changes in your business.
Regarding the business aspect, I feel like I have tried to really tighten up my processes, and not only to make things easier and more efficient for myself, but also to give a client a better experience, just to make sure that things try to feel as seamless as possible.
Mm.
The key word is try, because I'm sure you know in this business, things can go wrong very quickly.
It's a
And there
work
are
in
so
progress, right?
Right. There are so many things that are out of our control. Like, did something arrive broken? Did something arrive late? We just don't know. So having that open dialogue with my clients, making them feel like I have it on my list, I'm on top of it, I'm organized, I'm not going to forget about you, is really, really important. And I feel like that's definitely helped me with my influx of clients. And on the other side of it, I had this. I feel like my turning point project was a bachelor pad, and I feel like people were able to see my aesthetic and more of a completed home than they had seen in prior projects. So I feel like that project helped elevate where people saw me as a designer. And my business continued to grow from there. So the projects got better. And then with my completion of this past spring's one room challenge and having creative control to do whatever I wanted because it was my own home,
Mm, right.
really, really, I feel like made me feel the best that I have as a designer. Like, I can do whatever I want. And because I was able to do that, I felt like it was probably my best project to date.
Nice. Well, it's nice that you get to have that best project, right?
Yes.
So all
Absolutely.
three of those things that you mentioned there, your processes, the turning point project with the bachelor pad, and the one room challenge. I'm going to take a little bit of time with each of them. So going back to processes, Beth, what specifically, like, I understand the why. I understand that you wanted to be able to provide a better client experience. You wanted to be able to actually deliver a better client experience and have it be more seamless for you and for the client. But what did you do actually to improve your processes? Did you start to, track projects in a new software? Did you start to, make spreadsheets? What did you actually do to change the processes and improve them?
First I would say accountability.
Mm.
And I looked to see what happened during this project that I wish did not happen. Or that I would have kept an eye on, or I can't believe we all have those moments. I can't believe I missed that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I took all of those lessons. I'm a girl that loves a list, and I just started jotting everything down. And then I said, okay, well, here's all the things that I know from my business brain. Technically, I should have in place, and I just started grouping all of those things together. So even down to the beginning, like when the client first reaches out, what should that have looked like? What would I have changed? Was there any confusion between me and the client? And if so, what was my part in that and how could I have tweaked it? So I just kind of took all those learnings and I started building out each aspect of my process. And that's everything from the the inquiry to when I'm actually working to the client to the completion. I wanted to just cover the full flow, even with the simple things. Like usually I would give my client a gift at the end of the project, but now no, as soon as you sign on and your contract is executed, I am sending you some booze because get ready. We're about to jump on this design ride together. And I wanted to set the tone because I want them to feel like what it is. And it's a celebration where we are celebrating the start of your new home.
Hmm. So this sounds so much to me like two things. Number one, I always talk about doing the autopsy of the project and taking apart all of the things when the project is done. What went right? What went wrong? How could you change it? It also reminds me of how I'm always saying to all the designers that I work with and coach and my own team here, okay, so this stinks. This went wrong. But where can you personally wind this back where you could have changed the outcome? Where could you have done something different that would have created a different outcome here? And there's always a place. There's always a place. Even if 15 other people along the way also made a mistake or dropped a ball, but there's a way and a place that we could, like you said, just like go all the way back to the inquiry. How could I have gotten more information? And it also reminds me, actually, the third thing is Sarah Brennan. Sarah Brennan's been on the show many times, and she has built out her process by doing just what you said, Beth. She would, for weeks and months, just kept notes like, oh, this would be what I should have done on an install. This is what I should have done on a phone call. This is what I should have done, at this client meeting. This is what I could have done at this vendor meeting. This is another way I could have gotten a better result. And she just kept keeping all those notes and then gathered them all, took them apart, and put them and built them into processes. So is this the long, hard work that you've been doing too over this last year? Maybe that's why it feels like it's 10 years since we talked on about this.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because I realize there are two very important parts of the process. It's the part that you have to live through every day, and there's the
Mm.
part that your client does. So I wanted to clean both of those up. So on the client end, for instance, I started using Ivy. So if my client wants to see something, and I'm not available, or sometimes it's so funny how many clients just want to go and just like flip through all the pretty things they know that's coming. Here's your Ivy link. Go
Mm.
forth and flip all you like.
Mm.
Oh, you're thinking about doing this other thing, but clients like the excitement and people need something to look at. And I feel like for me that element brought the biggest excitement outside of their client presentation,
Mhm.
because from that client presentation there's always design development. So I wanted to house all of that for them in one place so they see, okay, well, this is all the things that we looked at that I approved during the presentation, and here are all the other goodies or the toys that me and Beth have discussed since then. Or sometimes they'll go in there and they're like, Beth, you added this area rug in here that was in here before, and we'll joke. I'm very like jovial, almost like Santa sometimes. And we'll joke. I'm like, oh, that's just a little surprise I was thinking of. It's not confirmed, but it was just something I want to give some thought to. But I would love to know what you think, and it always keeps the conversation going. I just always want to make sure that my client feels excited because that's how I want them to feel throughout the process.
That's nice. I love that you are saying that consciously, that you're always wanting to create a feeling of excitement for your client all through the process, because that's important, right? doing a room or a home and investing in interior designer for so many people is a luxury. Well, it's a luxury period. Let's be serious, right? I don't care, who you are and what it is. And so to feel like it's a fun thing and it's a celebration is sometimes because it's the work that you do. Maybe you need to remind yourself, for someone else, this is a big present that they've given themselves. And for you to keep that feeling along is only going to help and support each of you along the way, right? To make the process better.
Right. Absolutely. That's exactly what it boils down to.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So it really is. I just got to stay in there for just a moment. It is absolutely being mindful every day in what you're doing and just taking a moment to evaluate it. Did you do it, Beth, in the way that, like at WindowWorks, we do it at the end of every project. We talk about it with the installers, with the salespeople, with the showroom administrators. What went right, what went wrong? Did you do it with each client at the end of the project, or did you do it like more sort of at the end of every day on all different aspects of the day, regardless of which project it was? How did you start to gather your data on the ways that you wanted to improve your business?
It became a mix. So every Friday, I thrive in consistency. So every Friday, I do two things. I do all my financial reviews, meaning I'm looking at QuickBooks and I'm reviewing every client to see is there anything that I need to follow up on, or did I promise something that I need to make sure I get out the door?
Yes.
And I would, during those reviews of each project, I'd be like, oh, you know what? I wanted to tweak this, or you know what? I should have this, I should track installation dates in my client workbooks. So it was
Mm.
all those little things. But if something like bigger happened that really stood out, sometimes I would just stop and sit and I would just jot it down. Like, I need to figure out a way to do X, Y, and Z going forward. Beth, don't forget.
Okay. Okay. So it's intentional and it's every week. It's every Friday. Let me just tweak and look back. And I'm really staying in here for a moment because it doesn't happen by accident. You have to consciously make the decision to do these things, right?
Right, absolutely. And I have a terrible memory. So, and it's always because I'm always sucking in so much information. And for me, on my calendar every Friday, it literally says QuickBooks plus client reviews plus recaps.
Okay.
And in there, I always jot down. So if something happened today, I would just quickly just add it into that note. And then I wouldn't look at it until Friday. But I just want
Okay.
to make sure I don't forget it.
I love it. I love it. See, that's like an actionable tip that I love. It's like, okay, so the world is a little bit busy on Tuesday, but your mechanism for capturing that is to stick it in the notation for Friday so that you can give it the review and give the consideration for how you're going to change it going forward.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay, good. Thank you for all that. And then
No problem.
the other thing is that you said that this project with The Bachelor turned out to be, you said, a turning point project. Tell us about that. Why was it such a turning point project? How did the opportunity come? Was there anything particular or special about the opportunity, or was it a coincidence? Or what was that?
It was more so where we were just tackling the full home at once. Like the client didn't want to phase it. We were doing everything. And it was the transformation. So we were tackling his living room, his kitchen, his dining room, his bedroom, his office, his foyer, the hallways. Um, and people seeing that work, especially, I feel like one of the things that sticks out for most people was the fireplace. And it was because his living room was loft style. It was two levels. So the living room took up both levels, and his fireplace took up, um, you know, that hole is about 17 feet. But it was the standard fireplace. It was the firebox with the mantle. And I was like, this thing is beautiful. We are going to tile this thing all the way to the top. And
Mm.
we did like custom built-ins. And I feel like that moment where I was able to transform something so drastically
Mm,
and people were able to see it throughout the entire house, I feel like was just great. It was, you know what it was? It was great content.
mm.
And utilizing that great content and trying to like pitch it and share it just brought more exposure to my design aesthetic. Cuz not like my aesthetic it has changed drastically. I feel like my aesthetic is the same, but it gets executed better and better.
Nice, nice. It's so funny because I'm recalling some conversation in our first podcast interview about a client about painting and something like about that. And I feel like it was a bachelor. And I'm curious if it was the same project at the beginning of it, maybe though.
I think you know what? It's possible that we were because you guys did his window treatments.
Oh, is this one of the clients that we've done with you?
Right. And Bill came and he installed on these very tall windows next to this fireplace. And all the walls, I think initially were like beige, but the client didn't know, like he didn't sample the color.
Right.
So when he got home that first day, this was about a year before, we had even met to talk about doing a project. He said he came home was like, "Oh my God," but it's kind of too late now. Just let them finish. But the entire house was beige, and I was
Yeah.
like, "This is, yeah, that was that
Yeah.
project." That's so funny. I think
I
I was wrapping it up when we chatted.
Yes, I remember that. That's so funny. That's so funny. Yeah, no, I know. We just did a project for you recently, and Billy sent the pictures over, and the arch Roman shade came out so pretty. I mean, everybody on the team was like, "Whoa, that's a great design. That really looked good."
Oh, thank you. She loves it. And actually, at that same install, I gave Bill fabric for another Roman shade within the same house.
Oh, good. Okay, that's good. Oh my goodness. And then the other big change for you was doing this one room challenge and being able to, as you said, express your creativity without having somebody say, well, maybe not that or maybe not that. And is this the room that I just recently commented on your Instagram? I feel like, my God, you've got some beautiful rooms going out there lately, lady.
Oh, thank
You
you.
really do.
Was this the powder room? I'm trying to think which
Oh,
photo.
it might have been. Yes. As a matter of fact, I think it was a powder room. Yes, I was like, that's a powder room. Like, it was amazing. Right?
Oh, yes, right. I think you looped in Kim. Yes, and right, that was part of my one room challenge. And
Okay.
then I realized, you know what? If someone's ever using this bathroom at night, I feel like it's definitely gonna feel like a lack of privacy. But you guys did. It's so funny. For my one room challenge, you guys also did the Roman shade for my kitchen.
Okay. Okay. It was the powder room. I'm looking at it. It is gorgeous. It is so
Thank
gorgeous. Yeah,
you.
yeah. So that was a fun experience, right? To do that and but the thing about it is, this is a financial investment, right? Of course it's in your own home, but you've got to be prepared to make this investment. But for a designer listening, Beth, that maybe has considered possibly doing the one room challenge, talk to about the experience and what you have to be prepared to do because it's under a timeline and all that, right?
Right. And this year's was, I mean, it was it was a pandemic as well. So I definitely, had my freak out moments like, how am I going to get this done? And for me, I thought it was going to be worth the financial investment because for me, this was going to be advertising.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew I wanted to relaunch my website to something that was more user friendly and more reflective of where I viewed my brand at that moment. And I knew I wanted a lot more new content for that. So I was happy to do it, but I also hustled a lot of merchandise up. Like I used a lot of sponsors. I worked with a lot of amazing vendors. I think I dare I say I might have had more than 20 vendors
Wow.
that helped with my one room challenge. But I also, I did my entire I did my entire first floor. I
Whoa.
did my living room, my dining room, my kitchen, my powder room, my my entry stairwell and my entry foyer,
So
and
it's
it's
like the
because I
20 room
wanted impact.
challenge, basically.
It was pretty much the 20 room challenge. But it got so much hype because people couldn't believe that I had done so much, and then they loved the outcome, and so much amazing press has come from it that it was worth every penny that I spent.
Okay. So, and I didn't realize that, and I should have given that some thought. It shouldn't surprise me, but you do go to sponsors similarly to the way you would go to sponsors and vendors and trades for a show house and ask them if they'll make donation in kind for their products and services if they'll do it.
Absolutely.
Oh, we probably did that too, didn't
Absolutely.
we?
You guys did. You
Yes.
guys
I'm
did.
just
I
remembering
actually
now
owe you
Kim
guys an
asking
email.
me. That's hysterical. I'm
Right.
sitting here and I just remember Kim saying Beth is going to do the one room challenge. She needs some Roman shades. I'm like, yes, go ahead, do it for her.
Right, absolutely. And I actually owe you guys an email, or I think I might have sent it because it was in that same kitchen that you guys did the Roman shade in, was in House Beautiful like 2 issues ago.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. No,
So it
that's so
always
funny.
pays the
Listen to
vendors
me.
back.
I'm asleep
Right,
at the
it's
wheel
always
here.
happens. Because there's a lot going on. It's a lot going on.
Oh, that's great. No, but I know the pictures are amazing. And so it is. It's a lot like doing a show house, except that if you can do it for a room in your own house, it's not like doing a show house and walking away from it, right? The only difference is you don't have
Absolutely.
the general public traipsing through it, but with, the way the world is going virtual now, it's sort of almost not that big of a deal anymore.
Right. And I feel like it feels more organic
Mm. Mhm.
than than a show house. I haven't done well, let me say this. I haven't done a traditional show house, but I've done things that are similar, like, like design on a dime, where you're
Right.
doing it for an organization. And even though I absolutely love design on a dime, this just felt different.
Mm.
And then I was able to do things whenever I wanted to. If I wanted to, like, you know, install light fixtures early on a Saturday morning, that I could then I can do that. I wasn't limited by anyone else.
Right. Yes, there's a total advantages, pros and cons for each the show house and for the one room challenge. Different things. It's a matter of, really looking at it for yourself and your business. What is the thing that's going to serve you the best, right? Because, of course, with an active show house that is able to be open, you're really in front of a lot of potential clients in real life in your own area, as opposed to digitally. It could be attracting people from all over the country, and therefore they might love what you do and love that powder room or whatever, but aren't necessarily going to hire you, right? So the pros and cons on both sides. But for you, you liked the process of doing the one room challenge, and it felt better for you.
It did. It just felt like I already wanted a change. So it just felt like the universe was just aligning in my favor. So
Mm.
me and the universe just rode away together on the rainbow. It was great.
And now, 20 rooms in your house are beautiful.
Yes, yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So let's talk about this year 2020 for a little bit while we're here. Um, how has it been for you, Beth, in thinking about, like, I want to talk about going forward, right? We talked a little off air about how to frame this conversation and really having conversations that kind of put our industry, at notice a little bit, to be more inclusive and to really think thoughtfully about diversity, and to think, even like you were talking about, just simple niceties of, not making an assumption that someone is working in a showroom as opposed to a designer patronizing the showroom, right? That these are the things that were that came to your mind when we started talking about the differences now and trying to get this our industry to come and open their eyes to the Black interior designers, and and how that we can be more inclusive and more, how about just less idiots? How about that? How about that's a better way to
Right.
say it? We just call it the way it is.
Right. I feel like it's been a really mixed bag of people who have been very, very aware and try to be very cognizant of it. And then there are people who are uncomfortable having the conversation. They're like, I'm aware of it, but I don't want to talk about it.
Mm.
But I want people to realize that your silence is just as bad as the person that is the racist because
Mm.
you are enabling their behavior. They think that it's okay.
Right,
And
by not
all those
standing.
things. Right, right.
Yes. And so, in your experience, you have, I know that some of our other colleagues that I've spoken to have said it, it sort of has, I'm trying to think, it was, I think, Cheryl Luckett that said that there were a few times that she felt like, oh, this is a white friend that I thought would have been there, and this is a white friend that surprised me by being there. And I probably neither friend realized that they were doing or not doing something. And that's sort of the thing too, right? Is to not get out of our head and figure out how we can help and be a part of the solution, and to not being, like you're saying, just quiet and just complicit in the silence.
Absolutely. Because silence, I feel like sometimes silence speaks louder than words. And in 2020, I feel like we've learned that painfully. I mean, I've even had friends who are not Black who were so painfully quiet that I looked at them differently.
Mm.
Like, you are not who I thought you were. How can you be quiet in this circumstance?
It's a funny thing, right? It's not a funny thing. That's my habit of saying that. It's an odd thing because there there is probably some genuine people who honestly have no idea what to say, and then others who are oblivious and don't think there anything needs to be said. Like both, one is worse than the other, but what your point to us is both are hurtful.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And I think that can go across the color barrier in the sense that I have even found myself I use the word annoyed, very annoyed with um, other Black designers in our industry based on things they have said and not said. And I'll give you two very different examples. This might have been a year or so ago, and there was a white designer who made such a tone deaf post on Instagram that I responded to it. And I usually don't even bother with those types of things
Mm.
because I always have my to-do list that I'm more so focused on. But the post was basically that, I think it was Black History Month of last year, and she said that she just wanted to give a nod to the Black designers because she feels like because white designers are louder, and that's a direct quote, that they're louder, is that that's why they get more opportunities and why they have bigger followings on Instagram. And because it was so tone deaf and ignoring why white people have a bigger may have a bigger following, get more opportunities, and addressing the other things that she said in her post, I was so disgustingly flabbergasted at what she
Mm.
said. So we went back and forth a little bit on Instagram. And
Mm.
then there was a Black designer who turned around and then started following her and then made excuses for her behavior and said, well, um, she thinks it was just the algorithm. And I said, you're making excuses. The algorithm shows you people based on the people that you're already following. So
Mm.
she wasn't following any Black designers. And
Oh.
that's why she's only following white designers now. But to act like the reason why that's happening is because white people are quote unquote louder
Louder.
is so ridiculously ignorant that I remember being pissed off my entire Sunday. Um, And then I saw the other end of it. I saw another Black designer telling another race how they should categorize themselves. And I'm like, you can't do that.
Mm,
Like, like I'm Grenadian. I consider myself a Grenadian woman that is Black that happens to live in America.
mm.
But if someone told me, well, because you're from Grenada, you're not really Black, I'm like, Black and white is based on the color of our skin.
Right. As if to
You
say,
can't,
if you weren't African American Black, you weren't having a Black experience. Is that what you mean? Because you come from a Grenadian background, so you don't get to claim what is happening in the experience here? Is that what you mean, Beth?
that's part of it. But what I saw this other Black designer doing was actually towards I'll say Hispanic and Latin.
Mm,
But I have heard that as well. I'm like, at the end of the day, when someone sees me, they don't know that I'm Grenadian. They see
right,
that I'm Black
right.
and that I live in America. So they're going to assume that I'm African American. And I always correct it because I hate that. Like, I know who I am. Please don't make the assumption for me.
Right.
It's almost like I give the prime example is if you were asking, another white woman, where are you from, like historically, and they said Italian, you're not going to second guess it.
Right.
So if someone's asking me that, could you not assume that all Black people are somehow from down south? Because all you're doing is then associating us with slavery, and then I hate that
Mm,
because we are more than that.
right. 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 Yes, it's basically what you're describing is the assumptions, and it goes back to that very at when you assume you make it. You know what of me, and a you know what of you, right? Like
Right.
it's just so. It's like where do you get off deciding anything for anyone else, right? It's like
Right.
stay in your lane, do your thing, and don't like figure my stuff out for me. I'm good over here, right? And it's like
Absolutely.
also with you were saying with not being, they're not that the Black community isn't as loud, right? And that is, I understand. It's as if it's what she's saying, and I think if I understand you properly, what was so offensive about it is because as if to say, all you have to do is open your mouth and you'll get all the things that the white people get, right? Like that's the crux
Exactly.
of it, right?
That's exactly what it is.
Yes, and it's like so absolutely uninformed is actually
Right.
what it is. It's not as simple as that because you have been for many centuries trying to say, hey, hello, right? And that's really what it comes down to is it's not, it's built in so many other ways and that it's not a matter of just one individual person being able to make a change. Each of us has to make the change on the individual level, but for somebody to say, well, you would get more press, you would get more this if you simply would be louder about it is crazy.
Right. Absolutely.
Crazy. It's so crazy. And so the thing is though that you mentioned to me that you have had friends that you felt have been a true friend to you and that have made you happy and that there have been some silver linings of things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, um, and that definitely goes across, as I mentioned, across, all color barriers. But for instance, like Noelle of Beam and Bloom, I absolutely adore her. I
How can
adored
you
her
not? How can
before.
anybody not adore Noelle? Come on.
Right. She's so cute. I could just like put her in my pocket. She's so sweet and she's so cute. And we had grown a friendship before 2020.
Mm.
And then once everything erupted this year, she was one of those people that reached out and said, "Are you okay? I just want to know that you're okay."
Oh.
And I was like, that in of itself,
Mm.
like meant a lot. Thank you for checking on me.
Yes. Yeah. See, she's obviously evolved human being to know to do
Yes.
that. Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. It's nice. I mean, it doesn't surprise me about Noelle. She is a very sweet, genuine lady. And it's it. I've had several people share with me stories like that where they felt cared for, and that's important, right? Because it is so hard.
Right. It is. And you know what? I even had Basement Works who I sometimes use to build some of my furniture pieces. It's Amy and Chris, that's who owns it. And Amy has sent me a couple of really sweet messages, just
Mm,
checking on me too. And I was like, you know what? And this is why you will continue to be one of my go-to vendors.
yeah, yeah.
Because not only do I love your work, I love who's running your business, and that is you. So she has a customer for life, her and
That's
her husband.
terrific. That's terrific. And so, what do you want to see, Beth, when you look ahead to 2021? What types of things would you like to say? You've got the ear of the industry right now. Is there anything that you'd like to say to your white colleagues, your black colleagues, the vendors, the trades? Is there hopes and dreams and wishes that you'd like to see as hopefully together we evolve and the changes that we make? Are there things that go through your mind that you'd love to see as parts of those changes and that move forward through to better things?
Absolutely. I will scream it again from the mountaintop is don't be silent.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes your coworkers and your bosses, because it's the people up top that form the culture of your company. So be cognizant of who you work for. Um, make an effort for diversity. Saying that, oh, I did not know a black architect or did not know a black designer is not a reason. Because my first question is, well, did you look and did
Mm-hmm.
you ask?
Mm-hmm.
Because there are so many of us. I just feel like it's just not a valid reason anymore. And that goes across to panel discussions. That goes across and who I'm seeing, like actual students in schools, like what does that makeup look like?
Mm-hmm.
Where are the brand partnerships?
All of these
Where
things, yeah.
Right, it's all of these things. Like there are so many things in our industry that touch everything from art to rugs. And I feel like, me and you talked about this earlier, is people have the toughest time finding black artists.
Yes.
But
Yes.
while like I have my go-tos, and I have my list of black artists that I absolutely love and I consistently try to source from for clients. So I have my list, but I was on a panel a couple of weeks ago and some people just were like, we have no idea where to look. But there are so many amazing artists out there.
And that's the thing. It's trying to shine the light on them, because that is another thing. I'm mentioning Cheryl Luckett again, that she specifically said in our third interview together when we talked about Black Lives Matter and the change and trying to be part of the instigators for change in this. She said that it is routinely difficult to find the black culture reflected in art. That it's, you throw a stone anywhere and you can run into art that is European based, American based, almost anything other than the black culture based. And she said, that's got to change. It's got to change. And you're saying that you're aware of several, if not many, black artists. So we need to get the light on them, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think, and you know what? The majority of my clients are black, and I absolutely love that. I don't have any qualms about it. And one of the things that I love is that we're always trying to infuse not only black culture but their culture.
Mm.
I have a one of my all-time favorite clients now. She lives in Piscataway. This is our second project together. Oh, Roman
Yeah,
Shade
where we
House.
just did the Roman shade, right?
Right. And both her and her husband were both born and partially raised in Africa, in Nigeria, I believe. And having those conversations, a lot of it is I'm doing my research and I'm trying to do my due diligence. And we're having those fun conversations. And I'm going back and saying, okay, well, I want to use this cloth, or I want to use this pattern, or look at this amazing piece of artwork. So in their home, they have this 27-foot wall. It's it's a hallway that runs from their side door all the way down to their kitchen. Um, and you see it from their dining room and from their entry.
Mm.
And she said, I love the gallery wall you did with the last house. Can we do this full wall? I was like, this wall is 27 feet by 9 feet high. Do you wanna do a gallery wall on this wall? And I said, sure, let's do it. And we did a mix. It's a mix of this amazing piece from Rachel Stewart, who is an amazing artist. I have a few of her pieces in my own home. Um, we we added in this mask that is not made by the hands of a Black person, but it gives you that vibe. And what I loved about it was the color, and that it's not a traditional mask.
Mm.
And then we paired that with some wall objects and nothing but family photos. And because they're Black, all you see is like a mix of the different types of Black experiences that they have had.
Mm.
We're looking at baby photos. We're looking at college graduations. We're looking at high school. We're looking at the extended family. And that wall, I remember she sent me a text one night. She said, all I'm doing is just sitting here staring at my wall. And I'm
Aw.
like,
Isn't that something?
right. I'm like, and I've had clients reach out who specifically were looking for a Black designer, and not because the designer they had previously wasn't great. They just the they weren't getting that cultural connection
Mm-hmm.
with their home that they wanted. So they
Mm-hmm.
felt like they could get that if they worked with a Black designer who wasn't afraid to delve into that with them.
Right, right. Like go down that road with me and let's see and discover what it leads to and have the courage to go there and find it and express it on the wall and in the home and everything else, right?
Right, right. And I mean, I can't each Black client I have is different. Like everyone's from somewhere different. So if I'm able to delve in and do that research, any designer should be able to delve in and do that research.
Right. And that is like I think that's the thing, right? Is your point is to earlier, your heritage is not the same as theirs, even though the skin color is the same. And here you are researching their heritage, no different than if an Irish or an Italian American designer who is as white as the snowy snow is, right? It's
Right.
doing the work and really honoring the person just the way you would if their favorite color was blue. Like, what is their actual heritage, right?
Right, absolutely.
Interesting, interesting. Well, I tell you, we've got a long way to go. There's no question. I think little by little with conversations like this where we just say, like you said, don't be silent. How am I? How are you doing? What's going on? How are you feeling today? Are you up? Are you down? Is the world just beating your butt, right? It's like
Right.
what is going on? And I've said this on every interview and I'm going to say it to you too, Beth, is that it is not lost on me how it is not your job to teach me or any other white person about this. But I, as your friend, appreciate and thank you for taking the time to just share your feelings on it and your thoughts on it because as much as it's not your job, it is so helpful. And I appreciate it very much that you've done it.
Oh, thank you so much, LuAnn.
Yeah, no, I am. So, well, I mean, you know, onward and upward with your just like your processes down, your creativity flying off the hook, good projects and clients. You're feeling great in it, and it's all, working on all cylinders, right?
I'm trying. I still have some tweaks I want to make, hopefully before January 1st, fingers crossed, regarding my process. Like now I have it to a point where, I created myself like a design fee calculator.
Mm.
So post consultation, I'll come back I'll use the scope we talked about. I'll drop in the amount of hours. It will calculate that design fee. I have my proposal template. I'll add the cost in there. I'll tweak some things in the template for them. But it's so incredibly automated now. And once I
Wow.
get that out to them, it's like they have like all the information at their hands. If they want to move forward or tweak, great. It's still quick for me to do it. We sign their contract, we're moving forward. Then I send them their welcome packet, which now includes like the FAQs. It has, some additional imagery for my portfolio. It has like the important points of their scope I want them to know. And then, I send them their booze, depending on the size of the project. Then I'm deciding like what they're going to get. And then I let them know, like, now we're jumping into the crux of everything that we want to do. So we're going to start that research. I'm going to come back to measure. Um, the things that I want to tweak though before January 1st is I want to tweak my client workbook even more to make it more robust, because that's like my one pager for each client is
Mm,
basically what my workbook is.
mm.
So I just want to take that. I just want to tweak my presentation templates. I just want to review everything from start to finish. So when I start off the new year, I feel like, okay, I want every client to feel like a rock star once they sign on with this new process.
Wow, that sounds amazing. I'm so happy for you. I have talked to so many designers that have really taken the time the way you're talking about doing, and the way you feel coming out the other side of it is just like night and day. You're partially there. I know that you don't have that far to go. I can hear it in what you've already accomplished, but pushing it all the way to that level, you're just you're talking about how it's going to make your clients feel, and I know how it's even going to make you feel even better every day.
Oh, absolutely. I felt like the level of excitement and confidence just when I send the new proposal, I'm just like, girl, you give yourself a gold star.
Just
I'm
pat
just so
yourself on the
happy.
back, Beth. Right? It's like
Exactly,
hit
exactly.
send on that, babe.
Right, right. And I feel like that's how I feel like as grueling
Yeah,
running your own business is.
yeah.
It's like those little moments where
That's
you
right.
feel like I got this. I think
That's
that's what we all need.
That's right. That's what it makes it worth. That's why the hard work is so rewarding, because it is just that. It feels like that. It's like, yeah, hit send. Let's go. I got this. This is good. That's
Right.
awesome. And I can't let you go without asking you about that design fee calculator, because every single person is like, go back and ask her about that.
Right. So basically,
I
right.
know it. I get the emails. Why didn't you? I'm like, I know. All right. I'm trying to remember now. When they talk about fees, ask them.
Right. So basically, I created. Again, goes back to my background. I'm a girl that loves Excel, and I pretty much broke. I'm just gonna open it up on my computer. What I basically did is I put how I run my business into pretty much categories, and in those categories, okay, sorry, now I'm trying to open up a different file. Trying to use one I already had open. So I have it in four stages. There's the planning, where it's like I'm doing the measurements, what am I doing in AutoCAD? Then my second phase is sourcing. And that's where I'm tracking everything. Well, how many hours does it take me to do furniture, finishes, lighting, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and the actual ordering.
Okay.
Um, and then I have it where I'm looking, okay, well, how much time do I spend client facing? And that's presentations, that's revisions, that's budget management. And then my last category is execution. And that's, well, how many hours I'm going to be on site, how many hours I'm going to be at installs, and how many hours it's going to take me to deal with your general contractor
Mm.
or the subs, right? And then just one column going all the way down. I just broke everything down in the room. So I can easily say, okay, for this living room, I think in the total of all these four stages is going to take me 22 hours. Okay, great. The fee is going to be, 4,950. And then I
Okay.
have like a little calculator on the bottom based on how I bill now, which is 60, 30, 10. And 60% is to execute your contract. 30% is due at the presentation, and then 10% is due upon completion. So everything I need is right there, just automatically calculates it. And I just literally just drop those numbers into their proposal, or then I'm copying, pasting it into their contract. And it just has made things so much easier to track, because if a client comes back and says, Beth, I know we initially talked about doing the foyer, but I changed my mind. Can we add that back in? I can just go back and say, okay, well, I told you it was going to be 11 hours. It's going to be about 2,500. Do you want me to just go ahead and send you a contract addendum for that now? Great. Type it up.
Love
and
it.
It's out the door. And I've noticed how much more quickly I'm able to turn things around since I created this calculator. And it only took me like 20 minutes to do. I don't know why I didn't think to do it before.
That's the kind of thing you're like, oh, for crying out loud. Why didn't I do
Right.
that 2 years ago?
Exactly. Exactly. And I feel like sometimes we push things off because we just think it's going to take so long. But then moments like this, I'm like, this is what happens when you procrastinate on the things that
Yes.
you did before.
It's the truth. It's so true. And it's like we all have varying degrees of of overcoming that, right? I know it myself. I'll sit there and I'll say, like for if I have to edit a show, I'll be like, just do it. And I'm like, I'll do it tomorrow. And then when I'm done, I'm like, right. See, you had it on your head for 3 days and it took you 2 hours to do. Like you were a fool for 3 days, right? Because it's with you until you do it.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So when you come up, so I love this calculation thing, and I just want to ask you that when you come up with how many hours you expect to spend in each phase for a particular room, you do it by room, right? Is that information is based on historical data, or you just have a good sense of it? And have you, I guess what I want to know is, have you gone back since you've been doing it, and do you still track the hours you spent, even though you won't change the contract? But if you said the living room was 22 hours, do you then take the time to track your work through that project, so that maybe that the second or third time through you might say, you keep saying this is 22, but it's really 28, or you have a good handle on it and you don't do that step?
I tweak it each time. So
Yes.
I launched the calculator probably, oh my God, maybe 3 or 4 months ago. And for each project, even though I'll copy and paste in, let's say, that 22 hours, but then I could say, well, you know what? Because of the consultation, this is not going to take me a half hour to measure. This is going
Mm.
to take me an hour and a half to measure. So let me tweak that. So now it's 23 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Or, all right, well, we talked about doing a custom bank cap. So now I have to add hours into custom.
Right.
So I'm
Designing it
doing
and
those
meeting the carpenter and everything, right?
right. So for each project, I'm tweaking the numbers, or sometimes I'm just doing it from scratch, because maybe it's like this living room was so intricate and has like this weird thing in it. Let me just do it with fresh eyes. And I'm
Okay.
doing that based on experience to date.
Mm-hmm.
So this may change each time.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it. And then what happens is, if you're doing someone's whole project, the whole downstairs or whatever, you do it for the kitchen, you do it for the living room, and it just spits out the number, and then you spit out the total number. And like you said, if somebody says, never mind, we'll just do the living room and the dining room, but then at some point, okay, let's add in the kitchen, you're like, oh, that's right, because the kitchen was 42 hours. Boom, here's your contract.
Right, exactly.
Love it.
So when I initially, what I have been doing, like if I send out a proposal to a client and they want to tweak something, I'm just copying the tab order. Like, okay, well, this was from November 20th, this was from November 24th. Here's where we landed for December 1st. Now you want to add that back? I'm just going back to the other page and copy and pasting, because I just
Mm-hmm.
want to move as efficiently as possible. And
Mm-hmm.
what I was doing before, not tracking like how I came up with those numbers without like, flipping through pieces of paper, just wasn't the
I
best use of
see.
my time.
I see. Yes, yes. Wow, I'm so excited for you. What big changes for your business? You've made a lot of changes in the last, 15, 18 months, and it's really you're becoming a well-oiled machine at this point it sounds like.
Thank you. I'm trying.
Yeah, yeah, good for you. Hey, it takes a lot of work. I mean, on one end, Window Works is a well-oiled machine, but it's a work in progress every day. Like we say, new things happen, right? And at the podcast, I'm like literally knee deep into setting up all of these things, and as it grows, and it like a runaway train, and you got to put the brakes on and regroup and let's do this. But it's funny because the biggest thing that I think that I hear from designers that still struggle with the aspects of the processes is that they just the only step they've taken is experienced the pain and contemplated the hard work to create the process, but they've not taken that step to just say, right, it's not going to be easy to do this. It isn't. There's no magic way. It's just sitting down and doing it. In that case, with the calculator, it didn't take that long, but other things that you are doing and other initiatives that you're doing in your business that you just enunciated a few moments ago, that's a nice month and a half, 2 month long project for you to get into place for 2021. It's not an afternoon and it's like, boom, it's all there, right?
Right. Basically planning for the time to execute.
Yes.
And I feel like I used to have this quote up in my bathroom as a piece of art, and it's like, don't give up what you want the most for just what you want right now. So I'm always
Mm.
replaying that in my head. This running your own business is never the short run. To what you said earlier, every day it's something new and you're learning something new. So you just have to get used to adapt and never getting comfortable, because running a business is never it's never going to allow you for that.
Well, it's I love the sentiment. It's so right. It's like you do have to always really think about that. What do you want? And my friend Desi Gresswell, who is one of the co-authors in the next book, she had a thing that hit me between the eyes. She said, what would the who and how you want your business to be 5 years from now? What would, if that were true, what would that person and that business owner think about the way you spent your day today?
Oh,
Right,
wow.
right.
Right.
It's like
That's
right
so
between the
true.
eyes.
That's so true, because if you would have asked me what has changed in your business last 18 months and I said nothing,
Yeah.
oh my God, I think I would have died on the
Right,
inside.
right. You'd be like, I'm not
'Cause,
sure why I'm here. Here,
right, 'cause I feel
nothing's
like,
new.
really? Did my business not grow in the last 18 months? Am I not doing anything differently or
Right.
better?
Yeah.
And that, oh my God, I hate the thought of it.
Well, fortunately, I get a little bit of a front row seat to your business and the growth, so I was kind of sure you've made some changes. I cheated a little. No, I think it's awesome. And I commend you because it is any one of us that runs a business knows that it's not easy. And, like Desi says, what is the dream of what you want it to be when you look back? Are you doing those things to create that to be happening? And she said that to me on the podcast. And I'll tell you, honest to God, I wrote it down on a piece of note paper with magic marker and it tapes right on. I put it right on in front of me. I'm like, what does your 5 year self say about today, LuAnn? Like, come on, seriously, what is she saying? And I'm like, all right. All right. She's saying you did a good
Right.
job. Keep going. And some days you're like, yeah, she's a little disappointed today. You were lazy. Now,
You know what? Raymond Boozer, he had posted something today, and it was a quote, and it was from Nelson Mandela, and it said, "It always seems impossible until it's done."
yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's where having always been an athlete my whole life, has always helped me because for me, I can't run any longer. I've got such dramatic arthritis in my left hip. It's a pain in the hip, is what it is. But for many, many, many years, since I'm 13, 14 years old, I ran. And I guess that's probably why I have arthritis in my head, pounding it on the streets all those years, 40 years of pounding it. But the thing is my friends used to say to me, we would go on like couples vacations and there'd be 8, 10 couples and we'd all get off the plane and they'd say, oh, so should we meet for dinner in an hour? I'd be like, make it an hour and a half. Why? I'm going to go for a run. And I would get off a plane, go for a run, do whatever. I get up in the morning. I'll see you after you guys have breakfast. I'm going for my run, whatever it was. And the thing was, I remember one of my friends one morning, she said to me when I got there for the late breakfast, she said, you really love running, don't you? And I said, no, I really love it when it's done. You know what I mean? And she just looked at me like I was crazy. And she goes, wait, what? She goes, you don't love running? I go, I like running. I love it when it's done. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. It's I love the result of it. I love the process of being able to say, I did that. It was a good thing. It was good for me. It was good for my mind. It was good for my brain, good for my body, good for my, inner body, the whole thing. And so it's that sort of a thing that I think I often carry into business, and it sounds like you are doing it for whatever reasons where you got to that same place, but you recognize that the hard things have to be done, but when they're done, the results are amazing,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Love
And
it.
sometimes, like, I saw something else and it says, you have to figure out what you want to be known for and then go do that. And I know I want to leave a legacy. And even though I can't say, oh, I want to be like the number one designer in the world, because that's subjective. But I do know that I want to be able to leave this planet and say, no matter what I did, I tried my best. I tried to be a good person. And I ran a hell of a business that was successful. And that's what I want for myself today. So I just have to keep on hustling until I feel like I accomplish that, so I can find a bigger goal to go
That's
after.
it. Well, somebody like you'll always be reaching for the next thing because you're capable of it and you'll always do it and you challenge yourself, and that's what's really cool. So, oh my God, so awesome. I'm so glad that we got a chance to catch up about things other than Roman shades today, Beth.
Me too.
Oh, well, thank you so much, truly, for your business at Window Works, for your friendship to me and Kim and to Billy and Vinny and everybody, and for being on the show today. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
I feel pretty lucky for a lot of reasons, and Beth is one of them. I'm grateful for her business at Window Works, for her friendship, for the beautiful work that she puts into the world, and for her openness in discussing the deeper issues that need to be addressed. Beth, what she has done actually in this last year is quite impressive. Wouldn't you agree? It's not easy stepping back, analyzing what went right and what went wrong, and dissecting what needs to change for your future, right? For the future of your business, because it's like putting the brakes on. And that's not so easy to do. And you know that I've talked about the autopsy of a project before, because every project, you have this chance to learn more about yourself, more about your business, more about the experience that you're creating as a designer. And I love that Beth is doing this work, okay? And these things don't happen by accident. You have to consciously decide that you're ready to do this work. And so if you want to see the changes in your business the way Beth has, and you want to ensure that you're growing and moving your business in the right direction, then you have to take this moment. All right, and do that work. Now, I also do want to point out Beth's Friday reviews. This is a terrific little tip here that she has. Remember, she said every Friday she blocks out time to review every client and project. And as things come up through the week that she knows she has to address, she tacks them onto that notation for Friday so it doesn't get by her. It's very smart. It's something any one of us can add to our business, all right? Also, the conversation today reminded me of Amber Lewis. Amber was on the show a couple of times. times, but in episode 184, she discussed the importance of figuring out your system, laying out the way things are supposed to run, who does what, the chain of command, right? Whether you're working on a team or you're on your own, you have to get clear on the processes and the systems that are part of your business. That's how you get to those next levels, okay? So if you missed that episode, it's another good one to check out, number 184. And lastly, a shout out to Beth and my common friend Noelle of Beam and Bloom. I mean, honestly, just such an example of what a good friend is. And sometimes that's all it is. That's what Beth is saying, and that's what others are saying too. Just check in. Are you okay? How are you handling what's going on in the world? Just make yourself available, right? And of course, when you see something that isn't right, do not stay silent. Okay. Huge thanks to Beth today. I encourage you to join Beth and myself at LuAnn Live. Think about it. You can ask her questions during her panel about our Friday review, about anything. And if you are a VIP attendee, maybe Beth will be one of your six 30-minute intimate conversations, those tiny little round tables, right? From finances to systems to client relations, you can learn a lot from Beth. I hope to see you there. Thank you so much for listening today and every day. Decide to be excellent. Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be, all of that is found at LuAnnNigara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.